皆様ごきげんよう。鳴杜水月の屋根裏教室へようこそいらっしゃいました。Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good morning, good midnight, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody who is not humans at all either. Welcome to my Japanese stream. So this is a place where we have guests over, other VTubers over, and go through themes that they want to focus on when it comes to learning Japanese. Today we have EUREKA-san here. EUREKA-san, こんにちは。はじめまして。
こんにちは。はじめまして。
はじめまして。かわいい。みんなかわいい。
いや、全然。
もう声めちゃくちゃ好きです。So for those of you who already know me, you probably know how bad I am with juggling audio quality and everything. So let me know if my voice is too loud or if it's too small, blah blah blah, and I'll try to get that going. お願いします。ということで、EUREKAさん、would you mind introducing yourself? 自己紹介お願いしていいですか？
はーい。エクストレムプティナユリカ、四季ユリカです。よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。Okay, so I guess it's my turn. 皆様ごきげんよう。日本語教師系 Vtuber の鳴杜水月と申します。Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at. Good morning. My name is Mizuki Meido and I am a Japanese teaching Vtuber. Yeah, so until like 10 minutes ago, I didn't know where EUREKA-san lives. I felt bad. But for those of you who are wondering why I'm streaming at this time, I'm actually on my lunch break, and so it's 12 o'clock noon here in Japan. And EUREKA-san is
hardworking.
I don't know, like I think you are a lot more hardworking than I am. EUREKA-san is at 4 a.m. was it?
そうそうそう。
ごめんなさい。ありがとうございます。
いやー、本当に大丈夫です。It's okay. I think my viewers know that I am awake at this time.
Okay. 4時、午前4時ですよ。I feel like that's the prime time for gamers, I guess, but
そうそうそう。
もうびっくり。So before we start, I kind of wanted to ask EUREKA-san some questions. Because EUREKAさん日本語本当に自然なんですよね。I watched some of EUREKA-san's past streams and realized how natural like her Japanese is, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of us struggle with when it comes to learning a new language, like trying to be natural. So I kind of wanted to ask EUREKAさん, how did you study? 気になります。
そうね、I am an idol fan, アイドルオタク。
おー、ドロだ。
そうそう、ドロオタですので、アイドル推しメンと話すために、日本語を勉強しました。
推しの力すごい。でもわかります。私も同じ感じです。So I guess EUREKA-san studied Japanese because she's in the idol culture. アイドル可愛いですもんね。Which idol groups do you like?
I like Iris?
アイリス聞いたことあります。
そうそうそう。電波組？
電波組
そう
すごい。
かわいい。
かわいいですね。
地下アイドルもめっちゃ好き。
あ、それでか。地下アイドル、that kind of makes sense. I feel like when a lot of us don't have, I don't know, like, as much 供給ってなんて言うんでしょう英語で。Distribution? When the original groups or content that you like doesn't distribute as much information in your language, you just go ahead and learn that language.
そうそうそう。Yes, that's exactly what happened.
ありがとう。すごい。だから自然なんですね。I guess like that kind of explains a lot of why your Japanese is so natural. すごい。人間
I learned a lot of slang.
That's a great word to start anyway. すごい。ということで、ありがとうございます。本日はお越しくださって。Thank you so much for being here today. 本当に。
Thank you for having me.
So, today, everybody, what we're going to be going through is going through counters. We're gonna try to learn counters together. So as you can tell, Yurika-san here is extremely good at Japanese. So I was telling her I don't know how much I can teach her. But for those of you in the comments, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions along the way, I'll try my very best to answer them as well. So feel free to drop any comments, any questions, and again, I'll try to go through them as much as possible. ということで、counters. These are what we're going to be going through today. What are counters? Let's learn counters. And actual practices is what we're going to be doing. はい。
ノート。
ノート。
メモします。
メモします。ありがとうございます。Yeah, so for those of you who would like, you can totally take notes. We're going to do actual practices at the end, so if you'd like, you might want to take a lot of notes. So Duke Lister-san said in the comments, counters like a fighting game? Ooh, this is a little bit different. はい。もう、カイさん said, why so many counters Japanese people? I can't really answer that question. I wish I knew why. But yes. では、ちょっと聞きたい、ちょっと質問していきたいと思います。I think we can start with questions, asking questions. So, Yurika-san, I would like to ask you, what is your idea or what's your knowledge when it comes to counters? And also, you chat. チャットの皆さんもCounters, what do you think counters are? Counters って何でしょう?
For me, well, from my understanding, it's how, I suppose it's like just numbers, to be fair, in English, but in Japanese, it depends. It changes on kind of the type of object that you're counting, which is what makes it so difficult for me to understand.
Yes, I feel you. So counters. Let's start with what counters are. Hi. What are counters? So in Japanese, counters are called 助数詞。ということで repeat after me, ゆりかさん。助数詞。
助数詞。
はい、そうです。そう、助数詞です。So counters are ways of counting objects and events or ways to describe the quantity of different things. So that's what counters are. Just like Yurika-san explained in Japanese, depending on what kind of objects or things you're trying to count, there's a certain type of ways or words that comes after the number in order for you to count them. I don't know if that makes any sense. So we're gonna go through a little bit more. So とても complicated. Yes, it's very complicated. So this is how I like to explain it. Okay, so ちょっと待って. Sorry, we're gonna move ourselves a little bit. Okay, here we go. So again, this is how I like to explain it. Like in English, there's terms like glass of water or like one bowl. I don't know why I said one bowls of rice. That's really bad English. One bowl of rice, like 3 cartons of milk. There's certain ways that you can distinguish or describe a certain amount of certain things, right? Like you can say one day, I don't know, like 1 day, 3 days. That's counters or something similar to the ways of counting in English to the Japanese idea of counters. So in Japanese, counters, they come after the numbers. For example, I wrote ippai. Ippai, pai or hai is a term used for things that contains liquid. For example, ramen. Because ramen, there's liquid in it, and it's in a bowl. For ramen, we use this counter, hai, ippai. It can be used for like glasses of water. It can be used even for like, alcohol, beer. 一杯、ビール一杯。そう。
ビール一杯。
So for example, 乾杯, you know, 乾杯知ってますか? So 乾杯 is cheers in Japanese. The pai is the same kanji. So that's sometimes it's like it feels like if you know kanji, it might be a little bit more. It might make a little bit more sense. So 乾杯ってね。ビール一杯くださいとか。そうそう。水飲みます? Yeah, for 水 as well. 水 can be はい。 because when it comes in glasses or cups, it contains liquid inside. そうです。So I guess, はい。So, and then we have things like 回。I wrote 3回. Kai is used for a number of times. You know, in English it'll be once, twice, 3 times, right? In Japanese it'll be 1回、2回、3回、4回、5回みたいな。And then the last one here, as an example, we might use this a lot. We were just talking, Yurika-san and I. Yurika-san rescues hamsters, and I help rescue dogs. And so this is a really important one, I guess. Yurika-san, 4匹とか匹って聞いたことありますか？
あ、そうそう。まあ、4匹？
匹、そうです。匹。
匹。
Do you know what count?
匹じゃない。
あ、4
じゃありません。
そうです。匹じゃないんです。So this is another reason why counters can be hard. Depending on the number, the pronunciation can change. なので、so 匹 is a counter for animals. Like, for one, it's 一匹. It's P-I-P, 一匹. 2, 二匹. 3, like you said, is 匹, 3匹. 4, 4匹. So, again, another reason why it can be hard. ちょっと難しくなります。But I'll go through the little tips that you can use to how to master counters. So, hopefully that will help. ということで。So, do you think that makes a little bit more sense in like what counters are? Or the idea of counters?
Yeah, it definitely does.
あ、よかったです。
I didn't even think about the glass of water and cartons of milk. I just, to be counters, that makes sense being in that context.
よかった。I know it's different like when you think about things like linguistically, but that's the closest, I guess, thing that you can consider as. はい。Oh, for 匹、いただきマリオさん said, heard that a lot for ピクミン。いや、ピクミンは一匹二匹ですね。I love the ピクミン song. It's really really depressing and cute.
Depressing.
Hi. So next question. So a lot of you have been commenting saying there's so many different counters for Japanese. Why Japanese people? But do you know how many counters there are in Japanese?
No.
Okay.
At least 20.
At least 20. Good answer. I think that's a good guess. Chat. 皆様, everybody here, give a guess. ちょっと書いてみてください。助数詞、日本語では助数詞何種類あるんでしょうか？ How many would there be? Countless. Countless. That would be really depressing and disturbing. 何個あるんでしょうか？ A lot, no idea. 何個あるんだ？ Oh, Japanese. Q さんは日本人ですね。Q さん here is Japanese and he's also wondering how many are there? そう、なかなか考えないですもんね。We Japanese don't really think about it anyways. 日本人
そうですね。
あんまり考えない。日本人でも正確に分かってない。Q さん just said, we Japanese don't even really know. Like we don't really consider or we don't know. And that's kind of true. We don't really know. But
yeah.
I looked up. It says about 500.
うわ
マジでなんと日本語助数詞500くらいあるらしいです。びっくりですね。はい。
びっくりした。
びっくりしました。やばいです。本当に。I didn't know this either. はい。まあ、やばいですね。はい。There's a lot. But here's the thing. It doesn't mean. Do you think us Japanese people really know all 500?
No.
Obviously not. I even put it on my PowerPoint. It says obviously not. 知らないです。I think it was, I don't remember when it was. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. On a stream, the topic of counter came up. And one of you, I think it was Loops on here. Was it you? I don't remember. Asked or made a comment about the term, the counter hai that we just went through. Like for liquid, is actually used for squids. Like squid as in like with tentacles. Hi, and I was like,
This.
what? Really? And so I looked up, and apparently it is used for squids, but it has to be a very specific situation. The squid has to be dead, sadly. The squid has to be dead. It had to be prepared to be consumed, and when it's prepared to be consumed and all the insides of them are taken out, people would use hai, because before cooking and everything, their shape can contain water. I know it doesn't make any sense, to be honest, but hi. That's so again,
Very
we don't
specific.
know. It's so specific. It has to be squid that is lying, like lying dead, ready to be consumed in stores. Like, I feel bad, but I guess so. So again, we don't know everything. So わからないです. We don't know. But I thought it would be interesting to point out or bring it up. Languages that has counters is not just Japanese. Languages like Chinese-based languages like Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, or a lot of South Asian languages has counters as well. And I think from what I know, a lot of indigenous languages from the American continent, not just Native Americans, but like, for example, a lot of, I think, dialects from like Mexico, like South America, also has counters. And so 私も知りませんでした. I also didn't know. But if you know any of those languages, you might be able to grasp this concept a little bit better or easier. はい。ということでね、again, it doesn't mean that we know all of them. So we're gonna go through tips really quick. So my tip here is for you to memorize 1 to 10 for all counters that you encounter, or the counters that you are interested in learning. So it doesn't mean that you have just knowing what words that comes after numbers might not be enough, because just how we talked about a little bit earlier, depending on the numbers, the pronunciation might change a little bit. So try to memorize from the numbers 1 to 10, and after that it will just be continuing, like counting and adding the last digit number and like pronouncing it in that way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
よかったです。よかったよかった。そうですね。So that's again a little bit of a tip when it comes to any of you trying to learn counters. そうです。ということで、Kira san said, now that you think of it, she's right. Tons of languages has their own counters. Yeah, and I guess, when we talk in our own languages, like our native tongues, we just don't think about it. And so until we make comparisons, I think it's a little bit hard to kind of like get to understand that, like this is the similar understanding, like a concept. みたいな。はい。ということで、again, that's a little tip. But for those of you who feel a little bit discouraged after hearing the term 500, I just wanted to point out that knowing counters can be extremely interesting. So I wanted to bring up the example of Attack on Titan. EUREKA-san, do you watch Attack on Titan?
So, yes.
よかったよかったイエーイはい。進撃の巨人好きな皆様いらっしゃいますか? Any of you like Attack on Titan? I love that series so much. But it helps us understand a lot deeper in like character development and like knowing how characters feel about certain things. So for example, if you ever interested, I want you to go and read the literal first story, the first episode of Attack on Titan in Japanese. Hey. So in the first episode, like literally the first episode on the first book, you'll be able to see how Eren views Titans as compared to other people in the story that views Titans as. So, like, 調査兵団って英語でなんて言うのかわかんない。Do you know 調査兵団?
No.
調査兵団 Hello? こんにちは。やばい。聞こえますか? I'm so sorry. I was gone. I'm so sorry. The internet is so bad.
Oh, okay. Was it on? I thought it was my fault.
No, it was my fault. It was my fault. ごめんなさい。 I'm
大
so
丈夫です。
sorry. The internet here is really, really bad. ごめんなさい、固まってました。I hope I wasn't frozen in a weird angle or anything. ごめんなさい。はい。I don't even remember like where I was. お帰りなさい。はい。
進撃の巨人の。
そうだそうだ。進撃の巨人、そうです。そう、進撃の巨人、you know the squad that Levi Heicho and Erwin Dancho is in? I don't know what that is called in English, what they're called in English, but something.
Core, I forgot.
Yeah, well, but you know who we're talking about.
yeah.
So that group. Hi. So, how come Japan internet is so bad? It's because of the place that I live. This is like in the middle of nowhere. Because my master decided that he wanted to have like a true Japanese experience or whatever. And so like
田舎.
So 超田舎. Everybody around here are like grandmas and grandpas, and so like no internet company really comes here. But we're gonna move, so hopefully it'll get better one day. めちゃくちゃ悪いです。Yeah. But anyway, so like Chosuheidan, those people, they call, the way they count titans are with this counter called tai. They call ittai, 1 titan, 2 tai, 2 titans, 3 tai, 3 titans. So, tai is a counter that describes things that looks like a human body. Like, for example, it can be for statues, it can be literal human bodies, like sadly dead one, like corpses, but it can also be for robots, like anything that looks like humans. Like you can count them as tai. But then, Eren no 名台詞ですね. One of the most known famous lines from Eren, he says, 一匹残らず駆逐してやる. Like, 一匹, he uses the counter hiki. So what was hiki for? 覚えてますか?
For animals.
そうです。So he considers them as animals, almost like as if he really doesn't care about them as equals or anything. He looks down at them almost. Like, you can tell all of that information. You can get all of that information just by looking at the counters that the characters are using. So, はい、すごく面白いと思います。I know it's a lot.
面白い。I didn't know about that at all.
Yeah. And then like Hanji-san, you know, she loves titans. And so she definitely will not use hiki on them because she doesn't look... It's not that we're looking down on animals, obviously, but you know, it's just more like something, like it's a deep down
not
kind
equal.
of... Yeah, exactly. She doesn't use that because, you know, she views more of them as equal.
一つ
一つはね、objects なんですよ。It's for objects. So ハンジさん、I don't really remember. ハンジさんは一人とかじゃないかな。
かな
ハンジさんが巨人のどうやって数えるかご存知の方いらっしゃったら教えてください。But I need to look back at them too. But yeah,
面白い。
it really shows in the characters too. 面白いと思います。
なるほど。
はい。
全然知らなかった。
よかった。そう。なので、again, it can be hard, but again, it can be extremely interesting and important. So, はい。ぜひ見てみてください。Okay. So, now we're gonna try to learn 5 main counters that we use in Japanese. ちょっとたくさんあります。And I don't know, I hope it's not too small for you to see. ちょっとちっちゃかったらごめんなさい。But again, we're gonna learn the first 10, or in this case, the first 9. ということで、so we're gonna start by learning the number 2. So 1つ、2つ。I mean, it's on there, but Yurika-san, have you ever heard people like using this?
Yes, I think this is the most common one, right?
It is one of the most common ones, yes. So 2, as it says here, it's used for simple numbers and objects. Usually things that are more tangible, like things you can hold, you will use 2 for. But this is the thing, it can only go up to 9. It doesn't go anywhere beyond 10, which is, I think, is one of the biggest differences. between the other ones. そうです。
なるほど。
And also for younger kids, like they might use it to describe their age. いくつって。Like for example, people might ask いくつ and
あ、
then,
そう。
はい。And then kids might answer something like 3つ I'm 3 years old.
そうなの
Yeah.
かわいい。
かわいい。Oh, Q さん is saying something interesting. 1個2個と1つ2つの使い方わけ日本人でもわからん。なかなかないですよね。So Q さん is saying that Q さん is Japanese, but he also doesn't really know the difference or how to differentiate between つ and こ because we do use them really similarly. But like Q さん is saying here, it is true. You can use both in many kind of situations, but I think the biggest differences is like it says here. So only goes up to number 9, and then it can also be used to describe age. それだけかな。はい。多分つとこの大きな違いは、つは9つまでしかなくて、あと年齢ですね。いくつって聞かれたら子供3つって5つとか8つですって答えたりするみたいに、年齢でも使えるっていうのが大きな違いだと私は思います。はい。And so let's say this out loud. Repeat after me, Yurika さん and chat. I hope you're not at work or anything because I want you to say things out loud. Now let's start from the first one. Repeat after me. 1つ、
1つ、
2つ、
2つ、
3つ、
3つ、
4つ、
4つ、
5つ、
5つ、
6つ、
6つ、
7つ、
7つ、
8つ、
8つ、
9つ。
9つ。
はい、ありがとうございます。ということで、so again, that's for つ。And then when you ask how many, you say いくつ。いくつ。Again, this is a little bit of an interesting one. これちょっと違うやつですね。The other ones are a little bit more unifying, like there's a little bit more like rules that can be attached to it. But, はい、そうですね。そう。ということで、so again, that was つ。つでした。Okay, we're gonna move on. 次行こうと思います。So the next is こ。はい、like where people are talking in the chats. こ is also one of those really simple ones. This is also used for objects. Basically, you can use it for anything that you can use つ for. But again, the biggest difference is that it doesn't stop at 9. That's the only difference. はい、ということで、how many will be 何個何個
何個
はい。So I want you to remember this kanji or the term 何 or 何。何ってどういう意味かわかりますか？
What?
Yes, 何 means
how?
what or how. It can be anything like that. そうです。So the term 何 or 何, when you combine it with many different words, it can make it into a question. In this case, how many. For counters, it will be how many. It will always mean how many. はい。マジで難しい。ごめんなさい、どうぞ。
いやいやいや、なるほどって言った。
あ、なるほど。聞こえてなかった。ごめんなさい。そう、なるほど。ということで。So again, this is for こ。では、let's try to say from 1 to 10. Everybody repeat after me. 1個。
1個。
2個。
2個。
3個。
3個。
4個。
4個。
5個。
5個。
6個。
6個。
7個。
7個。
8個。
8個。
9個。
9個。
and 10個。
10個。
Hi, so let's practice really quick. The way that you combine them, like when you want to say bigger numbers, it's really simple. For example, if you want to say 11, you just まあゆりかさんね、簡単だと思うんですけどはい。how do you say 11 in Japanese?
11。
そうです、11。And so you just have to say it combined with the counter for 個。そう、11個になります。
11個。
はい。ということで、How about 12?
12個。
そうです、12個。How about 20?
20個。
Perfect. そうです。20個です。素晴らしいです。はい、そうです。So Loopson is asking, between ko and tsu, since they're both for objects, what's the difference between them? Again, there's not actually much of a difference. It really is just that tsu can be used for ages, and it doesn't go up to, anywhere after 10. That's the only difference. Really. それだけです。ということで、so far 大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫です。
はい。では、次行きましょう。はい。So, probably one of the main themes for today. Just kidding. So, 匹ですね。So, 匹 is for animals. Just so you know, there are other ways of counting animals as well. But this is like the ultimate way of counting animals.
なるほど。
そうです。And then, how many ですね。How many, just like we had none or nani before, it is 何匹です。何匹。
何匹？
そうです。Okay, so really quick だったら1匹から10匹まで読みましょうか。
はい。
はい。では、repeat after me. 1匹。
1匹。
2匹。
2匹。
3匹。
3匹。
4匹。
4匹。
5匹。
5匹。
6匹。
6匹。
7匹。
7匹。
8匹。
8匹。
9匹。
9匹。
and 10匹。
10匹。
はい、完璧です。素晴らしい。はい、
ありがとう。
はい、ステラベリーさん、ごきげんよう。塔と引きで数える動物の差を雰囲気。いや、確かにそうなんですよね。So, there's other counters, for example, like 塔、but it really is just like the feels. Like, there's not really a rule to how you distinguish the difference between, like, what kind of animals you use hiki for and what kind of animals you use to for. To me...
I thought there was a difference in sizes. Like, the bigger animals have a different counter, right?
そうなんですけど、that's the hard part. It really can depend. Like, for me, dogs are tall, but for some people, they don't call them tall. Like, to me, like, dogs can be big enough to be counted tall, but then it doesn't mean that big animals like elephants and zebras and giraffes won't be counted as hiki, and so... 難しいです。
はい、難しい。
まあでも、ヒキだったら結構何でも使えます。You can still use hiki for all of them, so you can start with hiki. かな。
はい。
そう。羊までの大きさは平気。でもそうなんですよ。犬は頭なんですよ、私の中でね。そう、なるほど。なるほどっていただきました。I know, it's hard. ということで、again, so a lot of them, Japanese is such a high context language and it can also be based on nuances a lot. And so, just start with hiki and you'll be fine. ということで、hiki です。で、次、we have two more. これ、I feel like this might be a counter that a lot of people are using without realizing that they are counters. So, en ですね。N is yen, the Japanese currency N. This is also counters. はい。Because you're counting money なので、it's also a counter. So, あんまりね、あんまり気づかなかったりするんですけど、1円、2円、100円、500円も助数詞になります。はい。ということで、how many, just like everything else, is 何円。何円です。はい。So you can ask 何円ですか and that'll be how much is it? はい、簡単。これは簡単かなということで、this one is a lot easier than the other ones. I feel like because the other ones, you can tell that the pronunciation of the counter changes. For hiki, we had 1匹、6匹, we had 3匹。8匹、10匹。For N is one of the easier ones because the pronunciation doesn't change. はい、発音が変わらないので簡単かなと思います。はい。ということで、Loop さん asked, how about something really small like insect? ヒキ。They are ヒキ。そうです。Insects are also ヒキ。はい。そうです。ということで、repeat after me いきましょう。1円。
1円。
2円。
2円。
3円。
3円。
4円。
4円。
5円。
5円。
6円。
6円。
7円。
7円。
8円。
8円。
9円。
9円。
10円。
10円。
Yes! そうです。ということで、as you can tell, we have things like 100円とか1000円、1万円。But how do you call it? The drill is the same. You just put N after a number and you're good to go. So this is again probably a lot easier. はい。そうですね。But just so you know, we don't say things like 4円。4円とは言いません。Like we don't say things like 7円 for 7 yen. We say 7円。Or we don't say 9円 for number 9. We say 9円。And so, even for this, I would say just remember the first 10 and you'll be good to go. かなと思います。はい。ということで、次行きましょう。This will be the last one. Again, I think one of the most commonly used one. これは、人です。はい。人。Human beings.
そうそう。
聞きますかよく。
よく聞きます。何人様ですか
そうそう。
とか。
何人ですかとかね。あと、アイドルとかだったら言いますか何人グループとか。
そうそうそうそう。
やっぱり。そう、人結構使いますね。人 again is pretty useful, I think. So, 人 is a counter for human beings, people ですね。はい。So, when you go to restaurants, just like EUREKA-san said, 何人ですか They might ask you, how many of you are there? 何人ですかとか。There's a lot of like idol groups that says things like 3人ユニットですとか。
そう。
結構言えますね。ということで、for this one, again, you want to memorize all the way up to 10, but after that, it will be 人. The only difference for this is that you want to make sure that you memorize the first two, because the first two, as you can see here, doesn't follow the other counters, like doesn't follow the other pronunciation of 人. ということで、ちょっとやってみましょうか。Repeat after me. 一人、
一人、
二人、
二人、
三人、
三人、
四人、
四人、
五人、
五人、
六人、
六人、
七人、
七人、
八人、
八人、
九人、
九人、
で、十人。
十人。
And I am sorry, I just realized for 9 people I said 9円。ごめんなさい。That's supposed to be 人。Sorry, remember it as 人って言ってね。はい。ということで、so that's again 人です。So far, どうですか、ゆりかさん。I have a feeling that you probably have known this already, but any questions? 何か質問とかわからないこととかわからなかったこととかありますか？
質問ありませんかな。大丈夫と思う。
大丈夫、よかった。ということで、では次行こうかなと思います。Again, these are the main ones, I would say. It's not the main, but they're really commonly used ones. And then again, just memorize all the way up to 10. ですね。Okay, so before we move on to the main part, not the main part, but like the practices, I just wanted to send out a reminder so that we can all participate in the practices, especially for the chat. I think Yurika-san, I think for Yurika-san this might be way too easy なんですけど、 So a little reminder. So a lot of you might be wondering how you're supposed to make Japanese sentences or how you're supposed to start constructing Japanese sentences. When it comes to that, I think one of the most important things is to remember that Japanese has an SOV sentence structure. SOV stands for subject, object, verb. English is an SVO sentence structure, which means after a subject, the verb comes. Like I say, I ate cake. Ate is the verb, I is the subject. I ate cake. In Japanese, it will be 私はケーキを食べました。私 subject, I ケーキ object, and then 食べました ate verb. So verb comes later. Just make sure that you remember that. And then there's a few things that I think we're gonna use today. For example, あるといるですね。ある and いる is probably one of the easiest verbs that people use a lot. ある and いる is a verb that means there is, or a verb that explains that something exists. で、ある is for non-living objects. いる is for anything living with flesh and bones. Because I sometimes get people asking, what about plants? They don't have flesh and bones. They're considered non-living in this context. はい、just in this context though. はい。ってことで、and then when it comes to ending sentences, we have some sentence endings here. です and ます。So, I mean, I already wrote it here, but ゆりかさん、ですとますの違いってわかりますか？
まあ、わかりますけど、まあ、説明できないかな。
Okay. That makes a lot more sense when it comes to like how natural your Japanese is. It's nice when you don't have like when you can't explain it because it means you learned it in a really natural way. ということで、so we got a cute emoji in the chat. そうですね。SVO. That's a great way of describing it. はい、ということで、so really quick, ですand ます are sentence endings for Japanese. In Japanese, because verb comes at the end, we conjugate verbs a lot. We have a lot of verb conjugations, or in other words, many different ways of changing verbs to make it into past tense, future tense. It can be the polite tense. So that's what they are. So this is a polite sentence ending for non-verbs. For example, nouns, adjectives. When you end with those kind of words, you end with です。例えば、私は水木です。ね。私は水木です。水木は名詞です。水木 is a noun. My name is a noun, and so I just add です at the end. で、あなたは、
なるほど。
そう、あなたはゆりかさんです。
そう。
そう、ゆりかさんも名詞。そう、よかった。そうです。ゆりかさん is also a 名詞、a noun, and so you put this at the end. It can also be used for adjectives, like ゆりかさんかわいいですね。とか、そう、かわいいは adjective, いい adjective です。そう。だからですで終わります。そう。And then like words like 好きとかね、好きです。好き is an adjective、なので私は動物が好きですとか、私はお寿司が好きですとかですね。So they're non-verbs. そう。ですは動詞ではない言葉の後につけます。名詞とか形容詞とかにつけます。And then ます is what we call a verb conjugation. So there are polite ways of ending sentences. 例えば食べるっていう食べるっていう動詞、食べる verb、 食べるっていうのはどういう意味ですか in English?
To eat.
そうです。食べる is to eat. When you want to make this more polite, when you want to make this word 食べる more polite or a more verbal communication form, you'll say 食べますですね。
食べます。そう。
はい。So that's what we call the ます format, or it only comes after verbs です。はい。はい。So that's an easy explanation from me. はい。ですね。 Well, for those of you who are more interested, I guess I have videos that explains aru, iru, and desumasu, and so I'll just put the links in the description box once we're done with this. Hi, so you can check it out if you'd like. わかります。わかります。
わかります。
そうですね。So わかります is from a verb わかる which means to know or to understand. So わかります。You can say わかりました。Masta is the past tense. So if you say わかりました it means oh I understand, I understood って意味になります。はい、なるほど。ということで again that was a little reminder. では次ね、ちょっと let's go through some example sentences. 簡単なやつからいこうと思います。I mean, they're all gonna be pretty simple, but so, for example, こうですね。We're gonna use a lot of います、あります、です here. います is the ます format, the more polite way of saying, or a verbal speech format of the term いる。いる means there is. ということで、はい、最初の文章ですね。I don't know if you can see. 見えますかね So, the sentence that says there are 3 dogs. ゆりかさん、ちょっとこの下の日本語読んでもらっていいですか Would you mind reading the Japanese sentence underneath it? Underneath the English one?
犬が3匹います。
はい、犬が3匹いますですね。Again, that means there are 3 dogs. 犬が3匹います。Again, there are 3 dogs. Subject, or it's not really a subject in this case, but we're talking about the existence of 3 dogs. So dog comes at the front. 犬 3, 3匹います。There is or there are. Dogs, 3, there are. ですね。はい、では次。Apples are 150 yen a piece or per apple です。これちょっと日本語2つ文章があります。There's 2 sentences for this. 読んでもらってもいいですか？
はい。リンゴは1つ、150円です。
完璧。
リンゴは1個150円です。
完璧です。そうです。リンゴは1個150円です。I honestly don't know how much apples are these days. But now, apples are 150 yen a piece or per apple ですね。リンゴは1つ。or 1個。Like it says here, 1つ1個 you can use both. It doesn't really matter which one you use. はい。うまい。いや、ほんとね。神さん says うまい。But yeah, 発音が本当に自然。Your pronunciation is really natural. はい。ということで、次。いいですか How many hamsters are there?
ハムスターは何匹いますか？
ハムスター何匹いますか By the way, ハムスター何匹いますか
匹かな6匹
?6 匹たくさんいるかわいいですか
はい。みんなかわいい。
素晴らしい。ということで、ハムスター6匹いるそうです。So I guess 6匹 So to the chat, let's ask real quick. What is 6匹 How many numbers is that? わかりましたか There's a lot. That's a lot, yes. そうですね。How many numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? どれでしょう Guess we will wait for the chat to answer. 6匹 Oh, it's 6! Good job. Oh, somebody says 49, but hi, it's 6. そうですね。6です。There's 6. ということで。はい。ということで、again, that's how you can structure sentences, I guess. です。では、Let's practice! ってことで、we'll practice really quick. はい。ゆりかさんにちょっと聞こうと思います。How many viewers are there in this stream right now? I know it like fluctuates a lot, but 今、この配信 for those of you wondering, 配信 is the Japanese term for stream. 今、この配信には視聴者が何人いますか？今この配信には視聴者何人いますか？視聴者 means viewers ですね。I don't know either. I need to go check. 何人いるんだろうあ、めっちゃいる。そんなに。
15人
15人 ?15 人、16人。I don't know. I think it like fluctuates. But そうですね。15人から16人かな。 言います。そうです。So, 15, 15 or 16, 16人You put at the end. So, 今この配信には視聴者が16人か15人います。そうです。So again, 配信 is the Japanese term for stream and 視聴者 means viewers です。はい。では、視聴者。視聴 means to look and to listen to, and 者 is a term that is often used for people.
なるほど。
例えば、お医者さんとか、医者、doctor ですね。So, 医者、E is like medical, 者 a person who are into like the medical field kind of a thing. So, 医者、doctor. そうそう。なので、者means humans ですね。Another way of saying things like that. So, 視聴者、people who are viewing です。はい。もうこれ聞きましたね。should have waited. はい。I already asked. ゆりかさんは何匹のハムスターを飼っていますか
6匹います。
6匹います。6匹飼ってます。素晴らしい。はい。
飼っています。飼ってって何ですか？
飼ってます。どうしよう。コメントに一旦置きますね。I'll put it on the chat really quick. そう、飼う is a verb that means to have, but as a pet. It's a very specific verb.
なるほど。
ディスコードにも送ります。I'll put it on Discord too. そうです。そうそう。はい。そう、飼っていますか？手いますって聞いたことありますか？手います。
手います。
うん。
まあ、聞いたことあります。
そうです。
と思う。
So, I feel like you probably like already know things naturally, but そうですね。For those of you who don't know, so 手います is the present tense format of Japanese. Present tense. なので、for example, the normal ますform of 飼う would be 飼います but now I'm asking ゆりかさん how many she currently has right now. なので、飼っていますかになります。It's like the ing form. そうです。そう、感覚で使ってる。そう、我々はね。yeah, for us Japanese, it just comes naturally. And I think for ゆりかさん, it's also really natural too. But, so, this is like a really important grammar って感じですね。飼っています。はい。例えば、私は今、配信をしています。今、ゆりかさんと話しています。話しています。そうです。はい。とか、水を飲んでいます。とかね。そうだ、ています is the present tense format in Japanese です。はい。ってことで、だったらちょっと、just because we brought up ています form、ゆりかさんに聞いてみます。ゆりかさんは、I need to think, never mind. なんて聞こうかな。ゆりかさんは、ゆりかさんは今何をしてますか？何をしていますか？ What are you doing?
今は、メイド先生と日本語を勉強しています。
素晴らしい。そうです。勉強しています。Sorry. I was gonna ask you a better question, but my brain is like not doing braining things. So
can't brain.
Can't think. そうですね。So again, tense form. だったら、I'm gonna ask you some other questions. 他の質問もちょっとしてみようかな。ゆりかさんは、ゆりかさんお寿司とか食べますか？
お寿司、あんまり好きじゃありません。
大丈夫。私も昔お寿司あんま好きじゃなかったです。
今は
今は好き。でも私ツナマグロとか昔、食べれなかったです。はい。だったらなんだろう。むりかさんクッキーとか好きですか？
クッキーめっちゃ。
だったらクッキー、ゆりかさんはお腹が空いているとき、ているですね。when you are hungry です。ゆりかさんはお腹が空いているとき、クッキーを何個 食べれますか？ How many cookies can you consume? クッキー何個食べれますか？
難しい質問だね。
そうですね。大きいクッキーにしましょう。
大きい
大きいやつ。私は多
3
分
個かな。
3個いいですね。私は5個くらいかな。
5個どんな大きい
なんか大きいやつ。私はクッキー大好きなのでたくさん食べます。
そうなんです
はい、
メイドだからね。
そうメイドだからですでも半分人間なので But I'm half human なのでチョコレートも食べれます。You can also eat chocolate. Dogs don't eat chocolate.
チョコレート。そうなんです。そうですね。
でも私は半分人間 I'm half human なのでチョコレートも食べれます。I'm able to eat chocolate. はい、私はチョコチップクッキーが好きです。
チョコチップ一番好き。
やった。チョコチップ美味しいですよね。
そう。
はい。まあ、ということで、Sorry, I didn't realize that we're about time. まあ、Before we end, 今日のまとめいきたいと思います。I guess I will go through the tips and tricks or the summary of today. 今日のまとめですね。最初の10個覚えるのが一番早いと思います。I think the easiest way is to memorize the first 10 numbers. There actually is a rule of what numbers changes in pronunciation, but that rule itself is extremely hard to comprehend in my opinion. It's really complex. So rather than going through like, this is like the equation for it, or rather than being like, how does this go? I think it's just so much easier to just memorize the first 10 and go from there.
Memorize.
So, then again, no need to memorize them all. And then just remember, they can quite possibly make your life a lot more enjoyable. ってことです。はい。で、何かコメントとか質問とか何でもありますか？
メイド先生ありがとうございます。本当に助かりました。
いえいえ、とんでもないです。お越しいただきましてありがとうございます。Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank
again,
you for having me.
So I know it's like, I don't even know if it's late or it's so early, but thank you. 本当ありがとうございました。もう感謝です。はい。Well, I guess it's time for me to go back to work, and I guess it's also time for ゆりかさん to go to bed.
仕事頑張ります。
仕事頑張ります。ありがとうございます。仕事頑張ってきます。
はい。頑張って。
はい、ということです。
はい、そう。今は5時。
5時。明るいですか？ Is it getting brighter? 明るいですか？
まだです。
まだです。
そう、ヨーロッパだからね。
そっか、ヨーロッパだから。そっか、忘れてた。そう、日本は5時ぐらいには明るくなりますね。Starts to get pretty bright around 5 a.m. in Japan. そうですね。はい。ということで、Thank you so much for everybody for being here too. ちょっとチャットの皆さんもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
はい。またね、いろいろしてみたいと思いますので、よろしければ来てください。I will probably do something like this again, so feel free to join in. And again, ゆりかさん's information is on the description box down below. So, ゆりかさんの、情報 YouTube とか Twitter のね、アカウントとか概要欄にリンク貼っておりますので、ぜひ行ってみてください。ありがとうございました。Thank you so much. ってことで、最後バイバイでいきましょうか。I guess we'll say bye bye at the end.
はい。
はい。では、バイバイ。
バイバイ。